So I wanted to make a video sharing my thoughts on optics, basically how something looks to people. Not necessarily how it is, just about how it looks. Now I'm going to go over a few examples of things that have bad optics that are explainable when you actually get into the nitty-gritty details, but just on the surface looking at it definitely do not look good. Firstly, the Senator Rand Paul. He is a very Republican/libertarian candidate. I believe he's the senator from Kentucky. He is, being a libertarian, he is very against socialized and nationalized medical care. However, at one point, he did go to Canada, which has socialized medical care, for one of his treatments, which, there is an explanation for it, but that's just really bad optics. Another example is Representative Cori Bush in the House of Representatives. She is very big into the defund the police movement, but has often said that she needs her own private security for her own safety, while simultaneously advocating for the police to be defunded. There are explanations for this, but again, bad optics. Recently in the UK, the British Prime Minister got caught having several parties after he banned people from having holiday parties last year. He was legally allowed to, but again, bad optics when you tell people they can't have parties and then you have them yourself. One more example is Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from New York. She is very big against capitalism, a big fan of socialism, and she sells sweatshirts that say tax the rich for $60 on her store. Now, typically, a normal sweatshirt, from my experience, will cost you anywhere from $15 to $30, but a $60 sweatshirt is just obscene, especially when it literally says tax the rich. So those are a few examples of things that, when people say or do certain things that just don't seem right based on their prior views or actions. But optics is a little bit more than that. It's about saying things that just don't really seem true to the average person. Now, those things may be true or they may not be true. It's just about it, to the average person, just objectively not seeming to be the case. One classic example is multimillionaire football players claiming they are oppressed. It's just, a lot of people have a lot of difficulty seeing that somebody who is a multimillionaire and has multiple advertising campaigns with huge companies to claim that they're oppressed. It just doesn't sit right with a lot of people. Sometimes people say things like that make them seem disconnected from the average common person. Another example of this, and what I heard the other day that actually inspired this video, was I was listening to Verdict by Ted Cruz. It's his podcast that he hosts with Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire. Now, it's pretty clear that as of right now in American politics, many conservatives are not a very big fan of the big tech companies. They believe them to be censoring them and trying to control the information that people are seeing. You'll hear this a lot if you listen to any of the Daily Wire shows. Now, on the episode that I was listening to, Michael Knowles said that working for big tech is more gross or deplorable than being a prostitute or a drug dealer. I get the sentiment that he was trying to say when he made that claim, because they really don't like big tech, but that just doesn't seem logical to the average person. Most people just don't compare somebody who went to college for years and years and then got a job at a really big company to somebody who sells heroin on a street corner. Most people think the heroin dealer is going to be worse than the tech executive. It just struck me as an excellent example of something having really bad optics, where I get what you're trying to say, but do you understand how that looks to the average person? It makes you seem disconnected. Maybe I'm alone in that view. If you disagree, let me know. I understand probably a lot of people viewing this, even though we are on YouTube's platform, are probably not going to like YouTube, the company themselves. They've sided on the more censorious side of their content in the most recent years, and that has upset a lot of the base I've seen. But anyhow, that's just my thoughts on optics and why politicians or political commentators, or pretty much anyone in general, just needs to not just be aware of what they're saying, but how what they're saying looks to the average person outside. If you advocate for defunding the police but want a private security force of your own, that's bad optics. If you say you don't want your country to have socialized Medicare, but then you leave your privatized Medicare country for a socialized Medicare country, that's just bad optics. One last opinion, and maybe people disagree with me on this, but I think it's really bad optics to call anything that is mildly right-wing fascist and anything that is mildly left-wing communist. I know people have reasons that they call them these things, but to the average person, it just makes you seem like a political extremist. And let me guys know what you thought of the video in the comments down below.